Hello everybody, it's Jen Scrapbena Creations. I'm back with another design team project using the Perfect Nanny stamp set. This stamp is so adorable. The first card I created used the little nanny with the umbrella. Today I'm using the image with the dressed up characters here. So I'm using the nanny who's dressed up to go to perhaps a party, to go to a fair or some horse rides, or to dance with some penguins. I've included one of the little penguins here to color up, and also the adorable, handsome man who's in his best attire for this card as well. So I'm starting my coloring doing the skins. I'm using a very light skin tone here. So I'm using E13, E11, and E00 and bringing in some of the R20 for the cheeks. The card that I'm creating today, once I get these colored up, will be using an abstract watercolor background. So you'll see how I create that when we get a little further in the card process. So to color up their outfits, I wanted them to be a very light, kind of palish pink ivory color. So I'm using E000 here, and I'm just laying that on the parts of the image that I want to color in that specific light color tone. So her dress, her umbrella, the hat, his pants, and his hat. And I'm just going to blend that out with my colorless blender. It looks very light on camera, but once I add some shading and stuff to it, I'm going to come back and add a little bit more color to it. It will really stand out. So for his jacket, I'm giving him a very colorful jacket. You can see the colors that I'm using here to the left-hand side, and I'm really just using these colors to make stripes down his jacket. They'll blend in with each other. And then I also wanted to do a couple of stripes on his hat and then on the bodice of her dress, as well as the hearts and the little ruffles around her neck. I'm also going to use some of the orangey colors for the centers of the flowers, and then I'm going to bring in that R59, the red color, for the band on her hat and the little ruffles around her umbrella. I feel like there's another term for that umbrella when it's not an umbrella. I just can't think of it. Parasol. That's what I was sort of thinking. So for his hat, I wanted to do it a little bit darker. So you see there, I just colored that up quickly. I'm going to come back and do his pants again, like I said, after I get their hair colored up. So I sort of gave them the same color of hair just so that there was some consistency throughout the card. So I'm using E29, E27, and E24 to give them some brown hair. I'm going to color his cane with the E29. Then I'm going to move on to the penguin. So I'm using C7, C9, and C5. I'm going to do his shoes in black and her shoes in black as well. And then the handle for her parasol. So I just did a light coloring of the black. Now I'm coming back in with the darkest marker, the C9, and then I will blend that out with the C7. Leaving only a little bit of area for the C5 to blend that all together. Once I get that done, I am going to do his little bow tie and the penguin's bow tie in some aqua colors. And then I'm going to do the white. So I'm using C1 and my colorless blender for the little penguin and the flowers on her hat. I'm going to blend that out. So it just gives it a little bit of shading to the white areas. I'm going to do the little hand towel as well. Here's where I come back in with the E000 to darken up their outfits. I just felt like they needed a little bit more of color. Then I realized I missed her neck here sort of giving her a very revealing dress line here. I am going to take the colorless blender over his jacket just to blend that out a bit more. And I really like now how the outfits are coming along. I decided to add a little bit of C1 to her parasol just so it looked a little bit different than her dress. I then decide to come back in with the R00 to add even more color to their outfits, and this really gives it some nice shading. So I'm going to come back in and blend that out with the colorless blender. And then I'm going to finish off the images by using my black gel pen for the eyes. This just helps them really pop against the image once it's been colored. And now I'm going to bring in my white gel pen for some detailing. So I'm just adding some white stripes on his jacket here. I'm going to add some detail to his hat. And then I'm going to add some detail to the hair, to their cheeks, and that will finish off the image. I am just adding a little bit on the white petals as well, just to really make them stand out as being a really bright white. And also just adding some detail here in the corset of her dress. Finishing off with some freckles on both of our little characters today. And once I get that done, I'm going to move to the penguin. So I'm going to add a little line to his nose. And then I'm going to give him some detailing on the top of his head there. And now that the black gel pen has dried, I'm going to add in some white dots to the eyes as well. The penguin's eyes were just a little bit too small, so I decided to cover that back up with the black gel pen. So now we're going to move on to creating the background. So I'm using a piece of distress watercolor paper, and I'm just using some of my artist Loft. These are really inexpensive watercolors. I just picked them up at Michael's, but you can also grab them at Amazon. And I'm just sort of laying down where I think I want my scene to go. And this kind of changes as I progress through the card. I had an idea of what I wanted, but I had no idea how it was going to turn out. So originally I wanted there to kind of be a grassy area where they would stand, and then what would look like a river or a piece of water. And then I wanted to have some foliage coming down, some very long trees in the background. And so basically right now I'm just kind of drawing this out first with it's kind of like an aqua tealy turquoise color. And I want this to look like branches coming down, or like fluffy willow-like trees. So I'm just adding the little spiky parts, and this really sort of looks like a hot mess, but the end product is exactly what I wanted. So I'm coming back in now with more of the color, and I'm just going to keep working this until I get it the way that I want it to look. So I'm going to do some teal colors, some kind of turquoise colors, and then bring in a little bit of light green as well. So once I got kind of the first coat down, I got a little bit braver, and I'm starting to use more pigment now as I go through the rest of these layers, just really kind of filling it out as I go. I'm going to bring these down a little bit more so they're hanging over the water. Now I'm coming in with this more of an aqua color, and I'm just going to keep bringing out the branches until it gives me the illusion of trees, or it's not really trees, but I guess like overhanging branches with leaves on it coming down. So I'm just working from right to left here, and I just keep going over it. This was kind of one of those things where I just turned on the camera. I had no idea how this was going to turn out. I knew in my head how I wanted it to turn out, but I wasn't quite sure how to achieve that. So really, I just went for it, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So now I'm bringing in this kind of lime green color to fill in the spaces. I don't want there to be any white space in this background at all. So I'm just going to keep bringing in that light green now, really filling that in. And I really like the contrast that this color gives against the tealy aqua color of the branches. And because I'm going for an abstract look here, you can just play along with it and play around with it until you kind of get what you are wanting to achieve. So I decided here that I wanted them to be even longer. So I'm adding some of that darker blue color, and then I'm mixing that in with the lighter green. And you can see now that this kind of abstract look of tree branches hanging down is really coming together. So once I got that done, I thought I wanted to have some brown instead of the blue because there wasn't enough, or green, sorry, because there wasn't enough of a definition. So I thought I would just add the brown. In the end, I end up cutting this into an oval, and I cut it off so that you can't even see the brown. So I was just using some more blue there to make the water a little bit more prominent. Now I'm just heating that with my heat tool, and I'm bringing in my Imagine Crafts Sheer Shimmer Sparkle Spritz. This stuff is super sparkly, it gets everywhere, so I just use a box when I'm spraying that so it doesn't get all over my desk, and you can see the shimmer and shine that you get with that spray. So here's where I decide to cut this panel down into an oval. So I'm using a stitched oval die here from MFT. And then I just wanted to come back and bring in some blue where there was a little bit of that brown showing. So once this panel is done, this card is quite simple. All of the work is in coloring the images and then creating that abstract background. So I am stamping the sentiment, anything can happen if you let it. I did use this for my first card as well, but I just really love this sentiment because I feel like it allows for a really versatile card. So I just stamped that onto the background, and now I'm going to pop my little characters up here. So technically, if I was going with how I first started creating this card, they would be standing in water, but we're just going to pretend that they're on the ground and the trees from overhanging on top of them is casting a bluish shadow on the ground. I'm going to bring in the sentiment "Have a Beautiful Day" from the November released stamp set called Play Pretend. I thought this was a really sweet sentiment for this card. And then to finish that off, I am going to add my little penguin character on the inside. So that's the card for today. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day. Here's a close-up of the background panel. Thanks for watching everybody. Take care. Bye.